Hello and welcome to the 113th episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad and I'm joined as always by my brother Rob.
Off to Never Never Land.
Shook me all
Night long.
The end.
Take my hand.
Oh.
Exit light.
All right, how you doing, man?
I am pretty excited because there's some news that I've been wanting to hear for a while, more so than I even realized until I heard it.
Yeah.
And that is that Steam is coming to Macintosh.
Mac users getting a game.
Woohoo! As a matter of fact, like, Gabe Newell was just like, yeah, we consider Mac basically a very viable, platform.
Yeah.
And then he neglects, still neglecting the PS3. I think it's hilarious.
Oh yeah, they have beef.
Yeah, they don't like developing for that thing. It's just not friendly. And the cool thing with this Steam is all right, close your eyes and imagine everything cool that you'd want this to mean, and basically that's it.
Right.
It's not just Mac's getting its own version of Steam and it's going to have its own 3 or 4, Tetris clones. It's no. You're getting Steam and any Valve property, at least, that is based on the Source engine, they're going to be bringing those over.
Right.
They've created a Source development kit that now basically, you're writing on both platforms. The Source will easily port across both and easily test across both. So this is really cool, really exciting. Also, the Steam account accessibility crosses both platforms, so if I have my PC desktop and I'm playing a Steam game and I save that game and I'm and then I'm on the road and I open my Mac up, hey, there it is, and the game is saved in the cloud of Steam, the Steamy cloud.
You can have a literal Mac versus PC.
Right. So
I have a question for you though. Do you think that they're positioning this to be more for the mobile platform in the future? Are they jumping on now because they imagine an iPad Steam or something, an iPhone Steam down the future?
No, because that's a whole different kind of system. Well, all right. Granted, it's easier to jump from Mac to iPad or iPhone because those are all sort of iterations of OS X. But even, Apple will tell you, there's a difference. You're kind of building from the ground up with iPhone and iPad, whereas the OS X has a legacy to it that has to kind of be considered, and so it's a different animal.
Right.
But the big news was that the very first day one release title for Mac from Valve is going to be Portal 2.
Yes. Have you seen, by the way, the Game Informer stuff? The details from the magazine that came out about this?
No. Well, maybe, because I've seen some stuff about it. I don't know what Game Informer was saying. What were they saying?
Well, Game Informer broke the story, which is one of those crazy things about Game Informer. In an era of print being dead, still continuing to have the exclusives, and it's all corporate behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
But it's funny to see how many reputable websites wouldn't publish those details for fear of, I'm sure, being threatened.
It's embargoed,
Yeah, it's embargoed. But how many ghetto websites that I would go to for gaming that are here's the details that I scanned out of the magazine.
Right.
So basically, it takes place hundreds of years after Portal.
Really? Okay, I did not know this.
Yeah. If you haven't heard the plot of Portal 2, just let's all revel in the juices of Valve, how cool they are and how uncliche this is.
Yeah.
So it's hundreds of years after Portal. Aperture Science has been overgrown by jungle, basically. So you're in a jungle-like environment. In fact, the cover of Game Informer shows a portal shooting through to a jungle with a vine coming out. And GLaDOS, here's the interesting thing. Even though it's hundreds of years from now, GLaDOS will be featured in there, and Chell, who is the original protagonist, she will also be in there, which I don't understand, but maybe some kind of time stuff. I don't know.
Time stuff, yeah. Well, portals, if you.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing what she does is she shoots a portal and it gets attached to a ray of light, which travels away from her at the speed of light. But then she walks through a portal that is stationary, and as we all know, that means that she can travel through time
Exactly.
If you do that, that's the wormhole theory.
I saw that.
Yeah, so this makes sense. This works.
Yep, this works. And so it's going to be cool. It's going to have cooperative play, and that, for the console owners, means split screen. But for the PC, it means like a picture-in-picture kind of effect.
Interesting.
And there's lots of new physics for the portals. They mentioned a portal that would suck air from one vent and push it out at another. All kind of interesting things. There's almost like a new game being stolen from for this release. If you know about Portal, they stole narbacular drops technology. I mean,
well, they didn't steal it. That's the company,
right?
You know, Valve stole those humans and put them
exactly
in their offices.
So the winner of the IGF awards last year, I think it was a game called Tag: The Power of Paint, which you put down these different colors in a black and white world, and they would give you different properties. Valve is saying that this will actually have that in it.
Oh, crazy!
You'll be able to splat something different colored down, and it'll give Chell the ability to like move fast or jump high or whatever it is. But yeah, it's a fully fledged game. Like they mentioned that Portal was not expected to be a big game. It was expected to be like a demo.
Right.
And now that this has taken off, this one will be a full game.
Yeah, like single disc. This isn't going to be part of the blue box or whatever.
Yeah.
With natural selection too.
Yeah, so are most of those details new to you?
Yeah, those details are new. What I had seen were a lot of the kind of viral marketing that they were doing, which was crazy clever and very sophisticated. But, props to Valve fans for being as sophisticated. They're like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
All right, well, I hear a scratchy noise coming from this radio that I felt like just moving around the map until it turned green. And now,
right.
What does this sound like? Well, to me, it sounds like the sound an old modem would make. So let me route this sound into an old modem. And
they know their audience.
Make it build.
Yeah.
I know. It's like, what on earth are you guys doing? It's like only MIT kids could figure this out.
Yeah, and
but it turned out to be really cool.
Yeah, and in addition to that, they changed the ending of Portal just ever so slightly, where now, and spoilers, do not listen to the next 10 seconds if you have not played Portal. But when the aperture science kind of blows up toward the end, you see your perspective get dragged slightly backwards by something robotic. You actually hear robotic limbs like dragging your character backwards.
Really?
Into the jungle or whatever, I don't know. So yeah, okay, spoilers over. But yeah.
Yes, please fast forward to 9 minutes into before listening to this spoiler.
Right, exactly. See, we're playing with portals ourselves right there.
There you go.
But yeah, so awesome stuff. I can't wait. I'm sorry, I'm hogging your story. This is what do you think about those details, man?
Oh well, I'm excited. I think this is a mutual story. I think we're mutually excited.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, come on, this game. This was our game of the year, wasn't it? For
it was my game of the year. Yours was BioShock.
Yeah,
that year. But God, it was so hard to pick.
It is a landmark video game.
Yeah,
and a sequel to that is definitely anticipated. I am surprised about the 100-year thing because you didn't really expect that with the first one.
But isn't that great? I mean, that's Valve. I mean, it's like I actually trust this. Like BioShock 2, I'm like, nah, it doesn't need a sequel. And you know what? Portal doesn't need a sequel either. But if it's Valve doing it,
yeah, it's cool. It's because it's not even like something they had to make work. You know, it's like with BioShock. It's like, all right, we have to walk a very fine line to figure out how we're going to justify this. You know, like. They would have perfectly been justified to have a Portal 2 where it's just like starts immediately after the first game and go. This is like, let's have... they have something in mind to do this that is beyond just giving lip service to the first game.
Yeah.
It's going somewhere.
Exactly. So here's the big question for me is like, Half-Life 3 has still not been announced, and here we have Portal 2 information. I know, it's pathetic, but one thing I always imagined that Half-Life 3 would have, and partially because of what the game alludes to, is a portal gun.
Yeah.
You know, and a portal gun within a world, not just rooms, but an actual like open world, I thought would be so awesome, mixed in with weapons and things. And God only knows what they have planned for Half-Life 3, but I'm almost surprised to see that this is going to be like outside of the laboratory into the jungle and stuff like.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be sort of in the laboratory, but the laboratory is overgrown with jungle stuff. Because I think the reason why that will be so hard to pull off for like Half-Life 3
Right.
Is that portals are very kind of like you have to really work out the geometry of what you're dealing with,
right?
You know, and so the first game having in this very closed sort of training track, like that made a lot of sense for what they were trying to do, but to have it in an open world, it takes a lot more gymnastics, and you know, Valve is good, but wow, I couldn't see anybody easily pulling that off.
Yeah. Do you think you'll prefer to play this on the 360 or the Mac?
I'll probably do it on the 360. You know, I don't really need my Mac for gaming.
And yet you're excited about Steam, but
yeah, I am. Well, part of it is because of like the development aspect. Like they're releasing Source and Steamworks for Mac, you know. So now I'll be able to like go in and like maybe tinker around with, you know, all right, let me make some mods or something. So that might be a reason for me to get it on Mac, because then I can be like part of the mod community. And
this reminds me of what Microsoft's doing with Game Room, where like Xbox users and PC users can play against each other. And they demoed this Windows Phone 7 whatever technology where you can play the same game on the 360, then the PC, then the phone, and it continues your progress. Like I think they all need to get their crap together and come under the umbrella of Steam, because like this would be good for everyone if we can all play the same game and just migrate platforms. Oh dude,
just as long as it's not all under the umbrella of Facebook. Like
sure.
GDC is going on now, and I just kind of heard a news clip of the guy like, I envision a future where all games are linked to Facebook. Just like, no. You don't
want to see that dark future.
The news feed is clogged up with achievement points.
Exactly. And by the way, speaking of dark future, my favorite thing I saw this week came yesterday. We're recording this on Wednesday, so Tuesday I saw the full trailer for Tron Legacy, which I had to immediately play in high definition. In fact, the YouTube clip is in 1080p, which is great. I had to play it for some of my nerd friends, because this is not a remake. This is now, I mean, very obviously a sequel. A true sequel where we get old school Bruce Boxleitner, you know, as Alan, aka Tron, talking. I mean, it gives me goosebumps to even say this, but talking to the son of Flynn and saying, you know, I told you I'd contact you if I ever found out about your dad. And then mid-trailer, we get Jeff Bridges coming up from the floor, you know, inside the world, and I'm just like, oh man. Now, if the last time we talked about this movie, it was called TR2N or whatever. I'm glad that they revised the title, but now that I know this is like a sequel, pandering fairly heavily to fans of the original, and I mean things like the Daft Punk soundtrack, like Daft Punk is doing all the music.
Nice.
My nerves have been eroded. Like I'm fairly.
We are excited.
Yeah, I'm fairly excited, and I said this on Twitter, but you know, Watchmen was the biggest trailer of last year for me in terms of geek excitement, and this year I thought Last Airbender pretty much held that award. This just totally knocked that off the pedestal.
It rubs you the right way, and just you see these things that you loved as a child, but like you'd watch these, you know, crappy special effects by today's standards, updated, and you're like, oh man, that's what it would look like, really, you know, like, whoa, It looks really cool. I'm also sort of getting a Star Trek-y vibe where they're like, you know, tweaking the universe a little, maybe making it a little more sexy. I don't know.
Sure. No, they are.
Like, you know, I mean that in kind of a good and bad way. You know,
there are plenty more girl Trons in this trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
You're looking at it kind of like, well, this is cool, but it also seems to be trying to catch a new audience. You know, like kind of have a young male protagonist who's going to be like dreamy and stuff like that.
Yeah, but still,
I don't know.
You got to admit, like the old arcade machine and everything, like they don't have to be doing that. This could be like about a kid on Facebook, you know, who is beamed into a new version of Tron and stuff. This is not that though. This is this looks like a sequel.
Yeah.
It's a friggin' sequel. I mean,
it's cool, and it's probably the one thing that excited me the most was Jeff Bridges. Well, he always excites me.
Yeah.
But
more on that later.
Young Jeff Bridges, you know?
Right.
Like how they're doing that thing, and he rises up out of the floor, and I'm like, holy crap, that's young Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
And I just saw him at the Oscars, and he's old and like decrepit, you know?
How do you do you think that like in the teaser there was a really badly done CG Jeff Bridges face? Do you think this is like effects technology, or is this just him cleaned up with like a wig, or just for men?
No, yeah, exactly. No, I mean, this could be a combination of techniques, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were doing something along the lines of performance capture.
Right.
But they're literally doing the performance capture of an old actor and putting him on his younger body.
Right.
Which, now that I'm saying that, has so many ethical ramifications.
And I don't understand like the plot. I must admit, like, Flynn was not left inside the computer at the end of Tron. In fact, he inherited Encom or whatever the company was.
Yeah.
This shows the gun that puts him back inside the computer program is like still active. So I imagine he's going in again, or he's gone in again.
Yeah,
but how
he
is
went back in, I don't know, got stuck.
Yeah, but he's simultaneously old and young? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, they show that in the trailer, but I'm sure, like, in context, it'll make sense. They'll be like, okay, like, there's his avatar in the world of Tron doesn't age, but his
maybe the
physical body does.
That makes total sense. That makes sense. One more thing I really liked about this is that I've never seen this actor before who plays Flynn's son. Who has serious eyebrows, by the way, like that extend nearly to the end of his face. Like, but yes, I haven't seen him, and I like that.
Cool,
fresh talent.
All right, that is one movie that I will be looking forward to.
Yeah, you will.
But now let's look back.
Oh,
segue,
killing it tonight. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, my brother. Yes, we're going to talk this week about the 2009 Oscars that take place in 2010, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
This is the show where every year I go, man, if you were to bomb this room, we would lose. We would just have to start over. Does that ever occur to you? I mean, it's a dark thought,
I think there are some people who would be happy to see that room bombed just to have the chance to start over. Just be like, oh, man. Enough
Not
with
another shot of George Clooney.
Lawyers, yeah, exactly. It's like,
no, I like George
Jack
Clooney.
Nicholson wasn't there, so that was good.
Yeah, but anyway, it was a relatively entertaining Oscars. I thought that Robin Williams had the best joke about the governor's ball being held later tonight.
I liked the one about the directors. The one for The Hurt Locker was like, James Cameron is excited about this and sent her a package with a timer on it. And then it's like, and she sent James Cameron a Toyota.
Yeah, I thought that
was
cool.
Snap.
There were some really dumb moments, I thought, though. Like, largely the dance montage.
Really? You didn't like that?
No, I thought it was ultra embarrassing. Just sitting there, like, watching Up, the movie Up, be translated somehow into a movie about a mannequin doing the robot.
You know what, though? I think I was impressed by that guy. Like, his robot...
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Dancing skills. I was looking at that like, whoa, he's really like a robot. And then when he walked away, walked away in slow motion.
No, that guy's amazing. He should have his own movie. Unfortunately, that's not what Up is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I guess...
It had nothing to do with Up.
They weren't interpretations of the movies they represented. Right. It was just kind of like them looking at the music itself and sort of performing that.
There was also like some sort of like needless horror montage that included Edward Scissorhands.
I think I missed that.
Yeah, it was and Twilight was in there too. It was like horror. I guess because they felt bad there was no horror represented in any of the Oscar nominations. So it was like, here's some movies that are scary, and then they put Twilight in there. It's like, whoa. That's desperate.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had a feeling like, because those guys were there too, and they had to like make a point to like point out that Zac Efron was there, and Taylor, what's his name, the
Taylor Abman
Shark Boy, was there.
Abman, huge actor, man.
Yeah, But they pointed it out just so like girls could be like, oh my goodness, Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
But these aren't our opinions of the Oscars per se.
Right. Basically, we do this show every year because we want to give our Oscar nominations. Basically, if we gave, let's say, The Screech,
The Screech,
whatever.
Saved by the Bell.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the geek equivalent of Oscar. Like, who is the geek name that you would associate? I don't know.
Well, we would give the Oscar, but it would be from Oscar, the Sylvester Stallone movie.
Maybe. There you go.
You have a dangling participle.
Right. Let's get into it. These are our top film choices of 2009, basically. And we're just going to go back and forth rapid fire style here. Rob, why don't you kick us off?
All right, this is in no particular order, but I did want to get this out of the way just because I finally saw it. Last night I watched District 9, and it is definitely one of my top movies.
Okay, yeah.
What I was actually not expecting, like I knew a lot about this movie going in, but I had no idea that the protagonist was going to be so enjoyable.
Vicus.
Yeah, Vicus. Really a stellar performance just of this guy who is a total dork, like a geek.
Right.
And he's a great, vehicle for showing you this world and introducing, because, geeks love talking about stuff. They love to be brainy.
Yeah.
So you have a guy who's going to be explaining everything to you, and everybody around him is rolling their eyes. They're like, yes, we know. He's like, as you can see, they are using the cat food. They love it. Because how else do you have people do that? Like, well, I brought along cat food. Oh
right.
my gosh, why?
Yeah.
Well, because frickin' love the stuff.
I think what's crazy about that movie is how realistic it felt, considering the outrageous plot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, obviously the style, it was all intended to be much more of a doc style. I think that came across. Like the effects, I didn't expect to think that would be one of the more realistic looking movies and like feeling movies of 2009.
Yeah, I mean, and a little bit talking about like the performance too, like as far as realism is concerned, like that guy was surprisingly selfish.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching it like, why, oh my gosh, why are you doing it? And then I'm sort of thinking, well, most people in this situation would probably do this. Like,
yeah, I had that exact reaction too. It was like, don't be this way, but then that's the cliche kind of kicking in.
Right. You want a guy who's like, I understand and I will fight. It's not that at all. And
no, and when he actually finally nuts up, as they would say.
Yeah.
It makes 10 times the impact, I think.
Exactly. And the effects were amazing. Like I had to kind of like step back every once in a while and just be like, none of that is there. Like,
yeah.
Holy crap. Like these people are, I mean, a few extras maybe had sort of like the glazed look in their eyes, like we are pretending to be chased by a tyrannosaur. But everybody else was right on. Like they had their points of reference they would work with, and really, the shaky cam and everything, it worked out great.
Yeah, it's a world you can kind of get lost in. You almost want to know more about,
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I'm going to say my number 5, and I will try to do these in order. Just because, you got to understand, I prepare more for this show than I do any other all year. Amber and I put together like a diary of consumption, and then by the end of the year, we always look forward to putting our top 10 together.
Yeah, this is your specialty.
Well, I love to have it on my fingertips when people ask, what movie should I see? I love to say, well, here's my top 10, or here's my top 5. So for me, Fantastic Mr. Fox is a world that you want to get lost in. If you have walked away from Wes Anderson for a while, which I actually have to admit, I'm with you. I didn't love Life Aquatic. I really didn't love Darjeeling Limited. I think it's time to come back, because this is classic Wes Anderson, but done in such a joyful, cartoony style, and it's crappy stop motion, as you've pointed out. It's like a throwback to the whole Paddington Bear, the smoke is made of cotton, you know. But it's a world that I really got lost in. So Fantastic Mr. Fox, my number 5.
That is definitely on my have to see. Like, I'm ashamed I have not seen that movie yet, and mostly because of what you've said about it,
Well, yeah, that's okay. I mean, you'll have time to catch up.
Yeah.
So what's next?
All right, the next movie on my list, I'm going to give it up for I Love You, Man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is, I kind of am going out on a limb here, because I know this is probably not on many people's lists, but I felt that this was a better comedy than The Hangover.
Right.
Which everybody's like the best comedy of the year, and not really. I mean, for whatever reason, I just found, like, I really like Paul Rudd.
Yeah. I
really like Jason Segel, and part of me like really kind of gelled with this story, about like friendship and things like that.
Right.
Definitely like the amounts of Rush that is played in that But I think it connected with me because I love music. I love, like...
Yeah, the buddy relationship with the Rush love was pretty cool.
Exactly. Like jamming with friends and stuff like that has always been something. You and I would always jam when I'd come back like during the summers and stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
before there was a rock band.
Yeah.
Crazy vomit sequence as well.
Yeah, that's a movie that I find myself referencing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a tough year for comedy. I actually think it was a great year for other genres like science fiction.
Exactly. But for comedy, it was hard. Yeah, there was a lot of disappointments, I think, too. Like,
I was really disappointed by like Land of the Lost,
Extract,
right? Extract, sadly. But I'll tell you, if I had to pick, it would probably be like Year One.
Oh, yeah?
One of these, again, unpopular. I thought The Hangover was decent. Or maybe like romantic comedies, like He's Just Not That Into You, I really liked. Or Management, which I don't know if you saw that. It's on Instant Stream.
The Ugly Truth was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's also on Instant Stream. There you go.
Yeah.
People can just try them out, and if it sucks, you just turn it off. But yeah, comedy was tough. So none of these are going to be funny. But number 4 for me was Paranormal Activity. Yes.
I have to see it.
I know. I'm sorry. It's a movie that just the marketing was true.
Yeah.
Think about that. The marketing was real. It showed a theater full of people, all like clutching on to each other. I went to the theater and had that exact experience. And, unfortunately...
You clutched onto a stranger.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my friend Warren actually kicked someone in the head.
Oh.
During one of the scariest
It's like a
scenes.
punk rock concert.
Right, and I was like, for that person, the movie was 3D. There you go, or 4D. But no, I mean, seeing this with an audience was so great, and hearing, I won't spoil it, but hearing a room full of gasps as time code fasts forwards was great. And I won't say what that relates to, but just seeing that and having a whole audience just quietly gasp, so cool. I've already mentioned before that I thought the couple in this movie was very realistic. I'll say the same thing as I said with District 9. Considering it's a supernatural ghost story, this couple and the way that things go about, very realistic, also made on a low budget like District 9, and did a heck of a job with that low budget. So Paranormal Activity for me.
Cool. Next up, in a science fiction movie again.
Yeah.
There are many good ones, but this movie we both loved, I think. That is Moon.
Yeah.
This movie, I think if one thing makes me put this on my list, it is the twist. Which I think that's a lyric to a song. But wow, like, I don't want to give anything away. Please don't watch any trailers.
Right.
Just go to whatever rental store, be like, do you have Moon? And they'll hand it to you, and you put it in the disc. Like, close your eyes as the menu pops up and just push play. It is a great experience. It is, once again, one of these independent films that really comes through, and shows that you can make a very compelling science fiction movie these days on a very shoestring budget.
Right.
And the performance in it.
Yeah, double the Sam Rockwell between Broncanus or Bronco and this guy.
Yeah.
You get double sci-fi Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell doing a great job, and definitely reviving the image I always have of him in my head from The Green Mile as just this pervy guy,
Yeah, well, no, he's also the guy in Galaxy Quest who is worried that he's going to get killed all the time.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's all I can say. If you want to hear more about it, you can listen to our Moon episode, but
sure.
Definitely Moon is on this list.
Cool beans. For me, number 3 is Sherlock Holmes, which I have mentioned about before on this show. How
I
my
have
fears...
to see it.
I think we should just put a moratorium on those statements. Basically, you have to see everything.
Especially for the soundtrack. I hear all this great stuff.
Yeah, it actually, I think it was nominated, or they played some of the... Yeah, oh dude, so deserving and so many cool things. I've mentioned that before, how I was so afraid about the way they were going to mistreat these characters, and those fears, were not justified. But in addition to that, the style of this movie I wasn't expecting. Like the music, like the creative use of, like a banjo, I think, is even playing the theme at one point. Guy Ritchie, who directed these brawlers like Snatch and things, does a really cool stylistic job with this and doesn't leave me feeling stupid at the end of it, you know?
Yeah.
This Holmes is brilliant, but because of his brilliance, like Einstein, you know, who forgot to wear his pants sometimes, he's eccentric and he's funny. I mean, there's some really funny moments. And I'll say a word about Watson with his mustache, you know, Jude Law. I thought that was going to be a terrible choice. I'm like, no, Watson is short and fat. After this movie, he's Watson. I mean, it
really?
Totally works.
There you go. Have to see it. Next on my list, what am I at? Number 2?
Yep.
Number 2 on my list is Star Trek.
The track to the stars.
Exactly. And also along those lines, Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. The other movie.
J.J. Abrams, was it?
I believe so.
He's got some talent. That is one up-and-coming kid. Keep an eye on this one.
Yeah. Not a Star Trek fan either.
Right. No, which I think we've discussed this. I think that helped. You know?
Yeah.
Like, there's one thing to be a Star Trek fan, and then there's Star Trek fans, and they are steeped in it.
Yeah.
And I think he walked that fine line between accessibility to the public and catering to the originals. And he really he says, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess with the formula, but I'm going to justify it to the fans.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And now the fans are accepting of it. Like, they're excited about that because they're like, oh man, all these different ideas are just pouring out of my head now as to what could be going on.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh man, and that movie really changed up the game for Star Trek. I mean, blowing up key places. Oh, jeez. I mean, that's a reboot. That is a reboot in your face.
Yeah, messing with the personalities of key characters, like icons,
right, sure.
You know?
Right, exactly.
Like,
but I haven't met too many people that dislike that movie, regardless of Trekkie or not. You know?
Yeah, and I kind of just I need to be reminded every once in a while of just how enjoyable that movie was, you know, and like that really is. It was a fun movie and fun science fiction.
Who would have thought in the year that we had a new Star Trek film, we would also have a new James Cameron sci-fi and like Watchmen and District 9, you know, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
Embarrassment of riches.
This has been a good year for sci-fi. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah. My number 2 is going to be Julie and Julia. Everyone probably knows what that is. Meryl Streep was nominated. Nora Ephron is great. I love her. I love her work. And when I saw You've Got Mail, she showed me a side of New York that I had never seen before, like the Upper West Side and like, you know, little quaint shops. And in this movie, she showed me, you know, French cuisine and, you know, the joy of cooking and all that stuff. Things that I, you know, honestly don't experience a lot. It was really cool to leave a theater not saying, oh, it was scary or it was funny, but it made me hungry. You know, you never say that. The scene with her tall sister who shows up, amazing. Just a whole world that, again, I really enjoyed. So for me, that's Julie and Julia, number 2.
All right, I have to see that. All right, and my number 1 movie of the year.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it was Avatar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Sort of a surprise because it's a little obvious.
No, it is a surprise.
But seriously, I think because what it came down to was I enjoyed this movie the most. You know, I think that I'm starting to join like the dumb masses maybe, as in just like my favorite movies are the ones that I just have the most fun at. You know, and this was the whole experience. You know, I saw it in IMAX twice, 3D, and just that alone, it was just like, wow, like that is something I'm not going to get with another movie. And then the special effects, you know, really, like I'm like, look at that, look at this thing, look, and you get so excited by all the special effects going on. Eventually, your brain overheats, and you just accept it as reality.
Oh, jeez.
Like I enjoyed that experience of it.
That's awesome.
If anything, there were just a few moments where I'm like, oh, this line is a little heavy-handed politically. If you just cut out that one thing, people could just take it for whatever, you know? Yeah,
well, it's amazing how expectation frames your view of a movie.
Yeah.
And I think we all went into that with, like, very low expectations.
Maybe.
You know, like my Sherlock Holmes experience and stuff. And it's like, at the end of the day, no, the acting isn't crappy. And the lines aren't that bad. And people make fun of unobtainium or whatever. But, you know, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it isn't. And, you know what? I think it's something that is very James Cameron-esque. Like, He's not about being subversive or riddly about his intentions. In a James Cameron movie, villains are villains. Heroes are heroes. Greed is greed. Sure. There's really few lines. He knows that it's going to work if he can make you hate the villain, that you're going to cheer for him to be killed.
Yeah, and people are saying, "Oh, it's Space Pocahontas," and all this. I'm so sick of hearing Space Pocahontas because no,
I think that's what I said.
Yeah. Okay. Oops. No, but I was gonna say I'm just in a negative sense where this is too cliche. You have not seen this movie before. I defy you. You have not seen this movie.
Yeah.
The structure of the story might be cliche, but so is the structure of a million movies. It just depends on what you put on top of that. I mean, of course good wins over evil. Of course these things happen, but no. I have not ever seen a movie like Avatar, and that was such a great theatrical experience.
Yeah, and it introduced this one concept, which was the braid linking thing,
right.
That people left the theater going, man, I wish I could do that. You know? It's like lightsabers, but it was like a different kind of more organic concept of interacting with the world that was just this novel idea. But
Sweet.
everybody talks about that. Everybody loves that concept.
Yeah. And that just brings me to my number one, which was District 9.
Hey!
We already talked about that. That was, as I said before, just one of the most cool, outrageous science fiction stories. I have not seen a movie like that, and I just enjoyed feeling that way throughout the entire film. This was the year for a lot of new things to happen. The complete opposite of Avatar, if you think about it. Budget-wise, these movies couldn't be further apart, but great science fiction films. Yeah, what a year for being a geek. So with that out of the way, I want to quickly move to a nostalgic topic. This week, Final Fantasy 13 came out, and I know you got it. I saw your tweet there.
Yes, I tweeted. I bought it, but I have not played it yet because I know the moment I put that disc in, time will be lost. Just sitting through a full motion video sequence can take 3 hours,
Yeah, when you read in reviews things like, well, the first 20 hours, and you're like, oh, God, Yeah,
you're like, I don't know if I've really felt the game out yet. I've only been playing it for 4 months.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to say what got me thinking about nostalgia was that a girl I work with said that she's taking off work for the next couple days in order to play this. And her and her husband will be sharing the game. And I was like, how do you work that out? Because it reminded me of how you and I, when 7 came out, would try to share playing it. You know what I mean? At first we're trying to play it together. Then it's like, well, what if I'm playing it whenever you're not home? And they do that exact same thing. And she said they have a complete system worked out where he'll play it with the TV facing away from her, and then she'll get to play it when he's at work, and it'll be facing her, And I'm like, well, how do you even talk about whether or not you've got to the same point? And she said, well, we'll say something like, all right, do you know about this character? It reminded me of us when we were growing up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Final Fantasy VII for us was this really, I think, singular experience that probably not a lot of people get to have, where we played through this game a lot with everybody in the room,
Yeah.
Like we were watching it. And do you remember how we kind of had participation?
Yeah, well, I think I would read out loud a lot of the characters.
Yes, we would do acting.
Yeah, whoever was the other guy would read, I think.
Yeah, we had our characters selected out, and we would all sort of cast each other, be like, okay, you play this character, whatever, and we'd sort of come up with how these characters sounded. I remember our big revelation was for Red 9.
Yeah.
Sounded like Sean Connery.
Yeah, it was it's unavoidable that he will sound that way. I think that's cool, and I think we would talk about it ahead of time, what do you think this character will sound like? Well, I think they'll sound kind of like this. All right, let's do that, Yeah, and in my mind, that's Sean Connery for some reason,
And that's how we would play RPGs, and that's how we would participate, And
I still remember desktop wallpapers I downloaded of each character, in their own unique setting. Everybody had their own great music theme. That's
I had the MIDI files downloaded, and I would listen to them going to sleep.
Oh yeah,
and that was crazy because we weren't playing the game. We knew it was coming,
right?
So we knew so much about it going in, but just to watch it all come together, and really I can remember being blown away by how intricate the storyline was. Like,
Yeah.
really beyond anything I had seen in a movie. I was trying to explain to our grandfather, like, because I was really excited about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, because you think the bad guy's going to be this,
Right.
and you think that you're going to be going after them, but then when you get there, they're all dead. And
Oh
it's
God,
like,
that's such a great scene too with Shinra.
and like, sorry, I'm stuttering like Ozzy Osbourne.
There's a plutonium turds.
But that moment is great because you think that is your primary concern. But
Right.
when you get there and this villain that you've been running from and are finally at last ready to confront has been decimated, you're like, what on earth has done it? And at that moment, it kind of turned into like a Resident Evil game. We were like afraid to go around the corner.
Yeah, I think geysers of geekiness are shooting out at this point.
Sorry,
between our top movies and this game, it's like, oh, it can't be. It's a cocktail. But I will say that this is one game that I know that they're going to remake, and I can't wait.
Final Fantasy 7?
7, yeah, heck yeah. It's the biggest one. It's the one in the modern era.
Yeah,
and it's the one. I mean, they've remade far crappier Final Fantasies like 6 times over. So I know the day will come.
That they know that it has to be done right. Like, remakes of other Final Fantasies are kind of just like these evergreen money properties. They're like, all right, we'll remake this, people will buy it, and we'll have more money to put into the major thing. But a Final Fantasy VII remake is going to be a major Final Fantasy release.
Oh yeah, it's going to be an event.
They can't hashtag it. They have to actually pour a lot of money and a lot of development into remaking that game because they have to get it right.
Yeah, and the sick thing is, like, the girl that I'm talking about who's obsessed with Final Fantasy, she hooked onto the series with 10. So her husband has like begged her, and I've begged her to go back and play 7, and when she didn't mean that much to her because the graphics were difficult to get over, and it's like,
that game does not age well.
Yeah, what a sad thing. Like, in my mind, I just remember like snowboarding down the hill and going on a date, and all this stuff. That sounds
and
so
then
dumb.
You played Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, and then I got to the game. But yeah, so that's some nostalgia for this week. Gosh, good memories, and of course we'll look forward to your thoughts on 13 as we're going forward here. But before we close out our show, I want to read an email that we received from Daniel in the UK, who complimented us on the show. Yeah, hi. He had some good things to say about the show, but he also set the record straight a little bit on Spider-Man. Our conversation about the reboot of Spider-Man. He said that there was some falling out with Sam Raimi and the studio, and that Tobey Maguire walked away as a result of them losing Sam Raimi. So that sheds a little light. Thank you for that. But he had a question.
Okay.
Obviously, he's in the UK. The cell phone market's a little bit different there, but he was asking about the Palm Pre versus the HTC HD2. Two really cool phones. In case people don't know, the HTC HD2 is a seriously gorgeous phone with a huge glass screen. I think it's the biggest screen I've seen on a phone. It basically fills the entire front. There is almost nothing else but screen. HTC, their Sense UI is on top of this. Gorgeous interface. However, it is skinned over top of Windows Media 6.5, which is a admittedly obsolete operating system now with the announcement of Windows Phone. So what would be your advice? You're a Palm Pre owner.
My advice as a Palm Pre owner is kind of go with the Palm Pre. I mean, I think if you're looking specifically at these two phones, they're both kind of at a janky place.
Right.
So I can't say that I wholeheartedly recommend them out of all phones. But personally, I love my Palm Pre. The WebOS interface is still remarkable despite the kind of lackluster app catalog.
Right. And it should be said, it's in better state than the Windows Media catalog.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Comparing these two phones, definitely Palm Pre.
Right.
I don't know if the Palm Pre Plus is available yet. I believe it is over there. I definitely am having a little geek lust about that because of they were showing a comparison, whereas my phone can maybe run 16 applications at a time. They were not able to hit the cap on like this video. The guy, he opened up 50 applications running simultaneously.
Right, on the Pre-Plus.
And was like, I'm just going to stop there.
Yeah,
he was physically worn out before he could go any further.
Yeah, if you're going to tie yourself to one of these two operating systems, I think it definitely needs to be Palm. And although having said that, like it's a wavering operating system whose future is uncertain.
But
whereas Windows Media's future is for sure dead.
And that's another thing that I'm kind of half wanting to recommend it, half not wanting to, because
there may be a third option here. If you want to hook on to the up-and-comer, which is Android, HTC, who I love, by the way, they make some amazing, obviously not just hardware, but UIs, is putting out some stuff strictly in the UK, which makes me jealous, and that is the Desire and the Legend, two HTC Android phones that are only available in Europe for right now. They both have Sense UI, which is glorious looking. They're both just super luxurious phones. And I don't know what your carriers are, but you may want to look and see if you can get your hands on those if you want to hook onto Android as a platform.
I believe the Desire, is that the one with the AMOLED display?
It's one of those two is basically just the Nexus 1 minus buying it from Google. It's
right, but whereas the Nexus 1 has an OLED, this has a AMOLED, which makes it probably the crispest, most glorious looking phone that you can find.
Screen technology has definitely come a long way since the iPhone, and a lot of these phones really show that off. And look, no doubt that HD2 is like lust worthy from just the hardware standpoint. But once you kind of look underneath the Sense UI, I think you're going to find a pretty hideous, especially the app catalog and stuff. So I would go Verdict Palm Pre if you have to choose one of those.
Yeah, and especially if you want to kind of be charitable, give Palm a bump up, because the more people who buy them, then they're not going to fail. If people pull out because they're afraid they're going to fail, they will.
Those suckers need a new phone. They need a new piece of hardware.
Yeah, their ad campaigns are getting better.
Yeah, they need more
Thank
phones.
Goodness.
Yeah. Well, that is going to do it for our show this week. Thank you for listening. If you would like to participate in the show like Daniel did, you can do that by emailing us at mail@growing-up-geek.com. And as always, you can follow us throughout the week on Twitter at twitter.com/GUGBrad or GUGRob. That's going to do it. Once again, my name is Brad.
Amulet of Love.
And we will catch you next week.